Welcome to Ben Wood Audiobooks. Thanks for tuning in at this hour. This channel offers both book excerpts and full versions. Remember to like and to subscribe to the channel. Striving to Survive. The Human Migration Story. By Ben Wood Johnson. Preface. What is the extent of human survival? Is survival always a guarantee? Is it the case that every man shall enjoy freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Is there a link between survival and immigration? Why people migrate from one place to another? Is there a safe place for men on Earth? Was life meant to be difficult? Would the humankind ever master the art of survival? I admit that these are complex questions. While there are no right answers, there are no wrong answers either. Nonetheless, the next few chapters will sketch out several probable explanations, which you might find informative or even intellectually intriguing. This book includes several short essays, which debate the upshots of human survival. Because of the span of the manuscript, the arguments I proposed here only provide an outline of the realities people may face on foreign lands. The hope is to clarify the traits of human endurance. The theories I will echo throughout this work stemmed from personal situations. As an immigrant, I have been in the trenches. Bear in mind that my approach is mainly philosophical. Still, I promise no objectivity in this work. Indeed, I have a noteworthy perspective. I left my home many years ago. During that time, I found myself in situations which made me question the purpose of my existence. These moments made me question the degree to which my life is relevant. They made me ponder on my chances of survival in a milieu where living a decent life is nearly impossible. After more than 2 decades of wandering in futility on foreign lands, I am a bit cynical about my prospects now. I am perplexed of my likelihood of preserving my beingness. I am no longer certain of being able to consolidate my efforts to guarantee my continued existence on foreign soils, considering that many others are struggling in vain to secure their own in the same milieu. Over the years, I learned about the roots of my troubles. I uncovered the causes of my situations. I learned about my social milieu. In the process, I learned to accept my reality. I had to find the means to survive against all odds. I had to strive to survive. This work is a snappy, but to the point, relation of the reality of immigrants. The emphasis is on the struggles a person might face in places where foreigners are not welcome. To reiterate, I have a distinctive view about the immigration story. I hope to share it with you as candidly as possible. The goal is to assess the ontology of human survival by referring to real-world situations. The text explores some of the hurdles a person might face in his quotidian. It examines the realities that typify a foreign social milieu. While this work is not comprehensive, it depicts, though summarily in this case, the dynamic between those who already settled on a land and newcomers. The idea is to reflect on the evils a person might face during his search for continued existence away from home. This collection is relatively short. As you might expect, it does not delve in complicated philosophical notions. It does not examine abstract concepts. But in this opus as well, I encourage those who face tough times on unfamiliar terrains to effort to survive. I encourage them to do so no matter what their state of affairs might be. If you would like to learn more about the link I propose between human survival and human migration patterns, I encourage you to read this text cover to cover. If you would like to learn about my philosophical writings in general, I encourage you to see my other works. You may find them listed toward the end of the document. Good reading. Ben Wood Johnson, Ph.D. January 2020. Pennsylvania, USA. Introduction. There is a link between human migration patterns and human survival. That relationship, I will argue in this book, often incites every primal instinct in the being, that is, the human being, to find the means to survive. It may also provide the being the reason, or the reasons, to prevent others from finding the means to do the same. The being who finds the self under the dominion of another may become combative. He may also become submissive. He may abdicate the self to the whims of the other. Life may become a dangerous adventure. Survival in an unfamiliar social milieu, I will contend here, can be impossible. The being may have to be creative. He may feel forced to find means to survive by relying on impulses and not on instincts. Many immigrants know this inevitability too well. In this pamphlet, brief though it is, considering the nature of the viewpoints I will echo in it, I propose to explore the aforementioned link from an idealistic lens. I propose to examine the nature of human survival in a foreign milieu by referencing my own experience in similar environments. I will itemize the adventure of immigrants in places where being foreign could be akin to a death sentence. I could not speak for all immigrants here. The immigration experience is personal. The ups and downs of the journey on foreign lands may vary. The length or the intensity of this trial may depend on a person's internal strength. It may also depend on the person's mental faculty to see the world for what it is and not how others project it to him. If you happen to be an immigrant, you might have experienced a different reality on foreign lands. Depending on where you evolve, your immigration journey might be different from mine. Your reality might be a wonderful tale. It might be a story worth cherishing with the world. I guess what I am saying here is that my perspective about immigration might differ from your own. My immigration experience was, perhaps still is, awful. It is far from what I expected. During my journey, I have found solace in knowing that I am not alone. Over the years as well, I have found out that the immigration story is somewhat similar across the board. Most people did not leave their home just because they felt like it. Many a time, the urge to leave came from a motivation to escape a putrid social reality. People often immigrated somewhere other than their homeland because of the precocity of their lives in that milieu. Other times, it is because of a necessity to survive against the odds. The enthusiasm to leave the motherland may also be the result of a need to survive beyond chance. Sometimes, people left their home because they learned about how others are living the good life in certain places. Time and again, people left their homeland in a search of a better life. Often as well, their departure was provoked by the promise of survival itself. But that promise, more often than not, turned out to be a fantasy. Whatever the case may be, the being must carry on wherever he may be. The being must find ways to exist in his new world. He must find the means to subsist by right and not by chance. The problem is that doing so could be next to impossible. Part 1. Chapter 1. The Promise of Survival. In the natural, every man is entitled to a long life. Every man must have an equal chance to pursue his own happiness. Every man must enjoy freedom. Every man must be libre under his skin. Every man is entitled to liberty. Ideally, every man must survive. Better yet, any man should be able to survive in places where survival itself is likely. But every man should only be able to strive to survive anywhere in the world as long as it is possible to do so. This is what I call natural equity. We could also refer to this transcendent state within the natural as the equity of survival. I would concede that some people might say the preceding claims are only ideals. By themselves, they have no tangible weight in the real world. Therefore, they have no real bearing in the world of men today. These notions are just palabres or simple rhetoric. Although most modern men would swear by these principles, for they learned about them in books, many of them would concede, although privately of course, that these notions are nothing but ideals, which some wise men enshrined on a piece of paper somewhere or at some point throughout the Middle Ages. In consequence, they are not binding. Are these men right? Perhaps they are. For centuries, the world of men is akin to hell. Most men live in dire circumstances while a few live like kings and queens. Nonetheless, the majority of the men who experience hardships seem okay with their reality. Refuting philosophical agreements. Perhaps modern men are not in the wrong. Perhaps philosophical notions about human conducts toward one another were not meant to become the norms of any society, let alone in modern societies. Perhaps they are just moral ideals, which are supposed to apply only in certain circumstances. Perhaps these ideas are not there to guide humankind in their journey on Earth. Perhaps the notion of virtue in human beings is overrated. While the previously noted philosophical ideals are well ingrained in the psyche of modern men, many are not sure that they have an obligation toward each other. Indeed, most men of today do not think they are bound by philosophical covenants. Many are not sure whether they should uphold such standards to the letter. In fact, the opposite is always true in places dominated by avarice, materialism, consumerism, greed, and the distasteful folly to uphold a false sense of individualism. Life can be a daunting experience, but it is more so in a milieu driven by the wants of a few over the needs of many. The happen of men in a social milieu could not be more apart from the notion of natural equity, which I previously noted. In the real world, none of the philosophical principles mentioned earlier seems to matter. The world of men is split between those who are believed worthy, I call them here extraordinary men, and those who are believed unworthy, I refer to them here as well as ordinary men. To me, it does not come as a surprise that most modern societies are devoid of humanism. The worthy man. In this scenario, the worthy man is special. He holds a certain degree of exceptionalism, which sets him apart from his kind. It is as if he had been placed on earth by a divine being. We could call that divinity, God. The worthy man holds out of the ordinary traits. His skin oozes purity, he is white like the snow that falls from the sky. He is above his nature. He is angelic, he is righteous. The worthy man has exceptional talents. He is cultivated, he is cultured, he is sophisticated, he is erudite from head to toe. The worthy man is close to being perfect. Not only is he a do-gooder, he is virtuous at his core being. Simply put, he is a good man. The worthy man has no equals. He is a man of science, he is rational, he is well-balanced, he is from the heavens. Thus, the worthy man is extraordinary. The unworthy man. The unworthy man, on the other hand, is the reject of the earth. He comes from the bowels of the planet. He is a scourge. He embodies evil, he is the darkness. His skin oozes malevolence. The unworthy man is mischievous. He is acidic. He is prone to violence. He could be vicious. The unworthy man is uncultured. He has no past, he has no present, he has no future. The unworthy man has no ancestral heritage worthy of acknowledgement. His presumed ancestors are random subjects who once roamed arid lands on the planet. He has no talent. He is a burden on the worthy man. The unworthy man does not know where he comes from. He does not know where he is. He has little notion of boundaries. He has no idea where he is headed. The unworthy man is unrefined, he is rancorous. He is under the grip of his nature. He is irrational, he is mundane, he is vain, he is irrelevant. The unworthy man is greedy. He is easily corrupted, he is lazy, he prefers easy spoils. He deserves nothing but what comes to him. Thus, the unworthy man is always ordinary. Chapter 2. Extraordinary Men's World. In the world of extraordinary men, the ordinary man does not deserve life. He has no interest in freedom. He wishes happiness neither for himself nor for others. He is perhaps nature's biggest anomaly. On this earth, he does not belong. In the world of extraordinary man, living the good life is always expected. But living in poverty is unnatural. It is like a curse. Every extraordinary man is supposed to live a dignified lifestyle. Of course, that belief generally stems from a sense of entitlement. In the world of extraordinary men as well, the capacity to live the good life is passed down from one generation to the next. In the world of extraordinary men, certain men shall never experience the hard life. The reason, some are convinced, is that these men come from a long line of extraordinary men, many of whom have accomplished extraordinary things in the history of the humankind. These men's places are well established in the pantheon of great men. They embody greatness. In the world of extraordinary men, the ordinary man matters less. In such a milieu, no ordinary man is entitled to freedom. No ordinary man is entitled to liberty. No ordinary man is entitled to the pursuit of happiness. No ordinary man is entitled to life, let alone the good life. Proving the self-worthy. In the world of extraordinary men, the ordinary man has to prove himself worthy. But such a démarche is always in hollowness. Against all odds, the ordinary man has to carve himself a place to survive. Against all odds, the ordinary man must carry on. He must do so even when he could not survive on his own. Against his nature, the ordinary man must accept his reality. He must do so even when he could not bear that actuality. That is the only way for the ordinary man to enjoy any state of mind, which may resemble instances of freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In the world of extraordinary men, no matter the extent to which the ordinary man prospered, he will never reach the rank of an extraordinary man. In the world of extraordinary men, the ordinary man will always be ordinary. This is to say that in the world of extraordinary men, the ordinary man will inexorably remain ordinary. Ordinary Men's World. There is a world of a difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary men. In the world of ordinary men, there is no guarantee of survival. In the world of ordinary men, life has no value beyond that attached by extraordinary men. In the world of ordinary men, survival is a gimmick. In the world of ordinary men, achieving the good life is a pointless pursuit. The ordinary man seldom experiences something akin to the good life. Those who are lucky enough to experience such a life would never know its full extent. For the ordinary man, knowing the good life is always ephemeral. His success is short-lived, but his failures are always long-lasting. In the world of ordinary men, the ordinary man must earn the good life. When he succeeds, he must cherish his good fortunes. He must preserve the newly acquired good life at all costs. In the world of ordinary men, good living conditions stem from extraordinary men. In the world of ordinary men, knowing the hard life is a rite of passage. The ordinary man has no choice but to suffer. In the middle of his calamities, the ordinary man must become extraordinary. But he will never receive this title. In the world of ordinary men, knowing difficult times is an inescapable crusade. In the world of ordinary men, experiencing vicissitudes is by default. In the world of ordinary men, life can be an unpleasant experience. No guarantee of survival. In the world of ordinary men, there is no guarantee of continued survival. This is so no matter whom the ordinary man thinks of himself. This is so no matter where the ordinary man finds himself. This is so no matter where the ordinary man comes from. This is so no matter where the ordinary man intends to go. In the world of ordinary men, life can be a daunting experience. In the world of ordinary men, finding the means to survive anywhere on this rock called Earth can pose an enormous challenge. In the world of ordinary men, life can be difficult to a point where death might become tempting. One could make the case that the adventure of ordinary men in the world of extraordinary men today is not that cynical. In the world of men in general, survival has never been promised to any man. This understanding is well established throughout antiquity. Even among extraordinary men, there is no consensus about which faction should prosper. That is the reason men, be they ordinary or extraordinary, have always been the most lethal enemies of their kind. Men have always despised one another. Men have always undermined the livelihood of one another. Men, be they ordinary or extraordinary, have always been at war with one another. Chapter 3. Under constant assault. Life itself is a constant struggle. Men are continuously under assault. They are battered relentlessly by the natural elements. They are assaulted unremittingly by one another. It is a constant fight for survival. Every entity in the natural milieu wants to seize men. Even men want to appropriate themselves. At his intrinsic state, a man's beingness is seen as a commodity, which is worth possessing. The history of men is that of a continuous struggle against their kind. Men have always endeavored, at times, teeth and nails, to own men. Men tend to consume men as food. Men practice cannibalism. For these reasons, men must be unrelenting in their pursuit for continued survival, for death, either from the natural or from other men, is always around the corner. Within the natural, a man's ambitions are inconsequential. His dreams are incidental. His continued survival is all but certain. Regardless of the truth of either the ordinary man or the extraordinary man, life is never an experience, which a man should take lightly. But it is not just a man's verity. When it comes to survival in the natural, no particular living entity enjoys any priority. There is a codependency within the natural milieu itself. In this instance, every existence is intertwined. As a result, one entity often lives off the life of another. A caution is worth outlining as we move along in this diatribe. Survival in a social milieu could be impracticable. As noted earlier, the struggle in a social milieu is between those who are believed worthy and those who are considered unworthy. In such a place, there is always a reason for the entity, or the person, whose life is believed unworthy to be on the offensive. There is always a reason for the ordinary man to be on the defensive, for he is always under assault from those who may consider him unworthy. In any case, the being must thrive. He must survive against all odds.